Hey guys, I am Yuri. Welcome back to my crafty workshop. This is the second episode of the Pickle Vic tutorial, which is the Viktor Nikiforov from Yuri on Ice Adolescence movie trailer costume. That's a tongue twister right there. Last session we did the mock-up out of some shitty fabric, so today we can actually copy that mock-up onto our fabulous material, make some final alterations, and then open his sexy back window. This session is going to be super easy and not very technical at all, but still I hope you enjoy it and find it helpful. Before we begin, let me just do a really quick plug. If you love learning cosplay crafting with me, visit my website at akwudu.com and grab one of my books from the store. There's also a free archive of all the tutorials I've made on social media for you to look through, and a gallery full of pretty pictures as well. Also, please consider becoming a supporter on Patreon, where for any amount that you choose to pledge, you'll access all of my YouTube videos 30 days early. Plus, you'll automatically get a tutorial booklet and pattern of each part of a cosplay that gets complete. Thank you so much for letting me plug. I hope you enjoyed the video. Before you cut anything out of your real material, the first thing you should do is pin all of the panels onto the material so that you can see how to Tetris all the panels onto the fabric that you've bought without wasting much material. This is really important because you never know if you have enough fabric or if you have just enough. If you're like me, you like to save money with expensive fabrics and you've bought just enough, then this is super important that you Tetris all your panels so that they just fit. This is all my panels pinned to the fabric. I actually had just enough fabric right there, so this Tetris has been a great success. Once that's done, I can start cutting, and so can you. Let's cut the bitch. Once you've got all the panels cut out and ready to go, it is time to go onto the back panel and cut out the back hole or the back window. What I've done here is just traced out the design that I've drawn onto the back onto a piece of paper so I can transfer this stencil here onto the real material underneath. Once I've done the paper, all I need to do is unpin the shoulders, remove the paper, and then take a pen and mark the points where the window has to go onto the underside of the fabric. Make sure when you're marking the fabric you are doing the underside, or else you risk drawing it wrong and ruining the fabric and wasting that panel. So from here I'm going to mark the point of the window onto the fabric, like so, like so. Just make sure that point is accurate. To check whether you have traced something accurately, you can just very quickly flip and unflip the panel, and just to make sure that every time you flip and unflip, that dot is the same place. This dot is the same as the dot that's on the fabric. And once you've got that, you can repeat that onto different places of the window, and then that can become your guideline to putting the stencil, the paper stencil, onto the fabric. So I have markers up top and one at the bottom. And how I'm going to use that is the top one will go to the top corner, the bottom one will go to the tip down below, and repeat on the other side, the top one on the top corner, the bottom one down below, and voila! I can start tracing out the back window with these guidelines. Once you've successfully drawn out the back window, you can go ahead and cut the bitch. It is important to remember that it is better to open the back window smaller than you need and then alter it to be bigger and bigger until it's perfect, instead of going for it straight away and accidentally opening it too big and wasting the material, having to start again. Always go for the safer option. Go a little bit smaller and then alter it until you're happy, rather than going too large and wasting the material. So right here you can see that I am actually going significantly smaller than the window that I've marked out, and that is because I just really want to be safe. I will be altering it after I try it on, so that I'm definitely sure that the window that I open is the correct size. Ta-da! So here is Viktor's green portions of the costume all pinned up, and I have my machine now, so we can start putting this whole garment together. If you notice in the reference picture, he does have a whole heap of white details that go all over it. Therefore, this is only a test sew together and everything will be getting unpicked afterwards. So we're going to set the tension on the machine to a loose tension and also set the stitch distance on the machine to be a far one, so when we unpick the panels afterwards, it will be an easy unpicking and not too tough. I've just assembled the sleeve, so now it's time to attach the sleeve to the armhole. Ta-da! After a little bit of sewing, the pickle colored parts of Viktor is sewn together nice and loosely, and now it's time to try it on. Now I'm gonna get naked. Wiggle myself into it. Get rid. So here. Yay! It looks pretty good to me. Hope it looks good to you guys. That's enough. That's enough posing. You might have noticed that there were some extra darts on my back near the back window, and that's because the last time I tried it on, I noticed there was a lot of puckering where the fabric would move away from my body when I stood up tall with my chest high. To prevent that, I just put a few more darts around the back window so that it would round in along the roundness of my back. So to prevent that back window from becoming a squid whenever I stood up tall. It's super important that you pin and try everything every step of the way whenever you're sewing a garment, especially when you want it to fit nicely to your body. It makes it much easier to know whether the alterations, the darts, and the adjustments that you've put into your garment is right away. And it is the worst feeling to sew everything together and then find out that one seam in there is not quite right and it's causing everything to not sit right, and having to figure out which of those seams have been wrong. That's the worst feeling right there. So I highly recommend trying everything on every single step of the way so you don't need to do any detective work later. Now that the green main garment is done, the next step I want to do is to make the back window. So for the back window, I have got a pale flesh colored spandex and also some shiny tulle to make the illusion of a power mesh. Now normally I would go straight for a power mesh, but the fabric land that is near my area has ran out of the right skin tone for me, so I'm just going to make an illusion and go with that. If you guys are making this costume and you want to use a power mesh, go ahead and use power mesh. It is actually the recommended option to go. Snip, snip, snip. Oh, I do hate cutting tool. It's just so delicate that I'm like, if I fuck up, it's over. Ta-da! The flesh-colored spandex plus the shiny tool has been pinned nice and flat onto the back window of the green fabric. So now it's time to try again. Time to try it on again. It already feels super comfortable, so when I turn around, hopefully it's going to be perfect. Oh, yes! Oh my god, it's so hot! Yay! So that is sitting perfectly. So we are ready to move on to the next step, which is detailing everything with the white fabric. Yay! It looks so nice, both from the front and back. So now that we have sewn everything together, pinned the back window and tried it on, and I'm sure that the fit and movement is how I want it, it's time to take it all back apart so that we can detail the white details on and sew it back together again. So that is it for today's session. As promised, it was very simple and not very technical at all. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit a like and subscribe. Consider becoming a Patreon supporter or grabbing one of my tutorial books from akwuru.com. Thank you so much for watching this episode. I really hope you enjoyed it. This episode was brought to you by your amazing support on Patreon and Twitch, with special thanks to Isabel, Jonathan, April, Chad, Sylvia, Hello, Anna Messa, Natalie, and Mary Deeknan. Thank you so much again for your love and support. I will see you next session. In the meantime, stay crafty.